Brothers and sisters, hello. Welcome to Readings with Regina. And today I'm going to do things a little bit differently. First of all, I just want to share with you how I'm still quite disturbed that the good Imam, Jamil Alameen, died in prison. That should not be. We must, as Black people, support our political prisoners and make sure our prisoner elders get out of lockdown. You know what kind of country this is. You know that the jails are just overfilled with people of color, in particular Black people. And elders dying in jail is just a sin. It's horrific, but it speaks to the mentality of this capitalistic system. But there are heroes who are right now marching for Mumia, and I want you to. I'm gonna play a clip. I'm gonna try to play it as best I can. Y'all know I'm new to this. The point is this: it is a 9 to 12 day march for Mumia from Philadelphia to Frankville, Pennsylvania. For those of you who don't know about Mumia Abu Jamal, look him up. And let me just show you his book, because I started this series reading Murder Incorporated, Empire, Genocide, Manifest Destiny. That's Mumia Abu Jamal and more. I think he's written about 12 books. Mumia is 71. How dare he be in jail? But we got some heroes. We got some heroes marching for Mumia as we speak. So let me show you this clip right now.
Let's say we understand the toast.
Oops. Let me try again.
Well, I went down to Mahano and I took back what they stole from me. Said I took back my dignity, took back my humanity. Was under my feet, under my feet, under my feet. Yeah, it was under my feet. Ain't gonna let no system walk all over me. No, no. Said I went down to the rich man's house. Took it back my dignity. Took back my humanity. It was under my feet, under my feet, under my feet. Yeah, I was under my feet. Ain't gonna let no system walk all over me. No, no. Ain't gonna let no system walk all over me. No, no. Ain't gonna let no system walk all over me. Period. Nobody know how.
In these documents of, maybe archived historic.
Okay. Let me get this. Here we go. I did it. Those people are putting their bodies on the line to change the injustice in this country. No elder should be in jail. Imam Jamil should not have died in jail. We got to do better, people. The people that we put in power, Black people, are not doing enough. Absolutely. This is why those brave marchers, and dig, it's raining like heck, okay, in this part of this world. Boom. They out there marching. They marching because it is wrong to lock up our political prisoners. I mean, look, Kamal Siddiqui, he been in jail for what? Let me look. I want to get this right. He been in jail for, I think, about 40 years. Leonard Peltier. Now I want you to think about Leonard, because Leonard is out of jail. But Leonard Peltier, head of the American Indian movement, that modeled the movement from the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Yes. Well, he just did 49 years. 49 years. Brother Love is in his 80s, but he's out of jail. So that is heroic. Marilyn Buck, she was a part of why Assata is in Cuba. Died in Cuba. She died free. But Marilyn Buck did 25 years. Yo, okay. Daruba Ben Wahad, he did 19 years. Richard King, 14 or 15 years. What are we talking here? We got to step up for our political prisoners because they put their lives on the line for us. Fred Burton III, 50 years in prison. He is an elder. That doesn't make any sense. So, people, I just want to say, I wanted to start off this show with this. Do more for your political prisoners. You can see the banner that's going by on the bottom of the screen, march.fomomia.org. Go there. Mobilization for Mumia. Go there. Do what you could do. Do what you feel comfortable doing. But do something. Don't just let our heroes rot in jail. They are in jail because they love you more than they love themselves sometimes. All right, people. And you know, the sister, my Panther sister in Paris, the one I tell you about, the one whose poetry I'm reading, and I'm going to read a poem at the end of the show. She was giving Wednesday rallies for Mumia in Paris. That's the good sister Julia Wright. So I just wanted to share that with you. And now I will get into the literature because, divers with a purpose. These are Black scuba divers. They are bringing to the fore slave ships. How did we all get over here if we Black? We came over on the slave ship. Understand that. The slave ship. And one brother, Kamal Siddiqui, not the political prisoner, Kamal Siddiqui, they have the same name. Can you believe that? Anyway, he's a Black scuba diver. He turned me on to, let me see, where is it? To this book, The Slave Ship. I'm going to read from that today. Where am I? Okay, good. I'm going to read from that today. Listen, I know our history is difficult, but we've got to know our history so that we could better ourselves today. Understand, if you be Black and you is here, you one of the strong ones. Good Lord. That slave ship was terrible. But this scholar, Michael Rediker, literally went to the files because, you see, slave ship captains, they kept logs. Like I've read Christopher Columbus's log. I've read what he said about the people in the Caribbean. I know what he said. I ain't going to talk about him. Anyway, other ship captains, slave ship captains, they kept logs, and you Star Trek people, I know I'm one. Boom. When the captain would say captain's log, captain's logs were kept on the slave ship. And I'm going to read from one of them in just a moment, but I want to bring up these comments. Let me see what it said. Peace. Let me see. Black. What is this? Black Velu. Peace. Thank you. This is what we need more of. And once I read to you what I'm about to read to you, I'm trying to get this other comment. Here it is. Good. Free them all. Listen. This is what we have to do. Free them all. Put your body on the line if you feel compelled to do that. Help them marches in some kind of way. And before I actually get to the reading, because it's raining like crazy here in Philly, all right? And I know the marches are on their route. I've been calling because I want to get more information where they are right now. I love every last one of them, and I'm going to be bringing you bits and pieces about them on Thursday as well. Now, okay, here we go. I'm going to go to the slave ship, the book. There it is, the slave ship. Can you imagine that? Once I finish reading, I'm just going to read a little portion because I want to get to all of the books that we read on Readings with Regina. But I had to include this. I mean, my mind has been blown. Black scuba divers going to the bottom of the sea, bringing up remnants of the slave ships. Because you know some of the slave ships capsized. Okay? All right, here we go. This section is called Captain Tamba. Among a gang of dejected prisoners in a holding pen, facing purchase by a slaver, one man stood out. He was, quote, of a tall, strong make and bold, stern aspect, end of quote. He saw a group of white men observing the barracoon with a, quote, a design to buy, end of quote, he thought. When his fellow captives submitted their bodies for examination by prospective buyers, he expressed contempt. John Leadstein, quote, old cracker, end of quote, the head of the slave factory or shipping point on Bance Island, Sierra Leone, ordered the man to rise and, quote, stretch out his limbs, end of quote. The man refused. For his insolence, he got a ferocious whipping with a, quote, cutting manatea strap, end of quote. He took the lashing with fortitude, shrinking little from the blows. An observer noted that he shed, quote, a tear or two, which he endeavored to hide as though ashamed of. Right on, my brother. This tall, strong, defiant man was Captain Tamba, explained Leadstein to the visitors, who were impressed by his courage and eager to know his history. How had he been captured? He had been a head man of a group of villages, probably Baga, around the Rio Nunez. They opposed the slave trade. Captain Tamba led his fellow villagers in burning huts and killing neighbors who cooperated with Leadstein and other slave traders. Keep that in mind. Determined to break his resistance, Leadstein, in turn, organized a midnight expedition to capture this dangerous leader. Now, he's fighting for his freedom, but he's a dangerous leader who killed two of his attackers, but was finally taken. Captain Tamba was eventually purchased by Captain Richard Harding and taken aboard the Robert of Bristol. Chained and thrown into the lower deck, he immediately plotted his escape. He combined with, quote, 3 or 4 of the stoutest of his countrymen, end of quote, and an enslaved woman who had freer range about the ship and hence better knowledge of when the plan of escape be put into action. You hear that, people? Do you hear that, people? These are our ancestors. Yes, brothers aboard the slave ship tried to escape, and a sister was with them. Yes, understand that. And she had more free reign or will around the slave ship because she was a woman. So the sailors, they could rape her at any time. The captain could say, hey. So she wasn't always down below like the men were. Okay, here we go. My next book, where is this? Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. And for my newbies, my new subscribers, this is an actual book just like the other one. that was written, well, that was a ship's log, but this book was written during the enslavement period. And the sister who wrote it, Linda Brent, was enslaved by a pedophile bastard. But check this out. There are no coincidences. I just read to you about Captain Tomba's resistance to slavery. Guess what chapter I'm on now in Linda Brent's work? Nat Turner's Rebellion. Oh, this is called Fear of Insurrection. Not far from this time, Nat Turner's insurrection broke out, and the news threw our town into a great commotion. Strange that they should be alarmed when their slaves were so, quote, supposedly contented and happy, end of quote. But so it was. It was always the custom to have a muster every year. On that occasion, every white man shouldered his musket. The citizens and the so-called country gentlemen wore military uniforms. The poor whites took their places in the ranks in everyday dress, some without shoes, some without hats. This grand occasion had already passed, and when the slaves were told there was to be another muster, they were surprised and rejoiced. Poor creatures. They thought it was going to be a holiday. I was informed of the true state of affairs and imparted it to the few I could trust. Most gladly would I have proclaimed it to every slave, but I dare not. All could not be relied on. Mighty is the power of the torturing lash. They, black people, the African was turned into a docile Negro. Not all, but some were, because they were beat. Notice the word lash. I just talked about the lash in the slave ship. By sunrise, people were pouring in from every quarter within 20 miles of the town. I knew the houses were to be searched, and I expected it would be done by country bullies and the poor whites. I knew nothing annoyed them so much as to see colored people living in comfort and respectability. So I made arrangements for them with especial care. I arranged everything in my grandmother's house as neatly as possible. I put white quilts on the beds and decorated some of the rooms with flowers. When all was arranged, I sat down at the window to watch. Far as my eye could reach, it rested on a motley crowd of soldiers. Drums and fifes were discoursing martial music. The men were divided into companies of 16, each headed by a captain. Orders were given, and the wild scouts rushed in every direction. Wherever a colored face was to be found, it was grand opportunity for low whites who had no Negroes of their own to scourge. They exulted in such a chance to exercise a little brief authority and showed their subservience to the slaveholders, not reflecting that the power which trampled on the colored people also kept themselves in poverty, ignorance, and moral degradation. Those who never witnessed such scenes can hardly believe what I know was inflicted at this time on innocent men, women, and children, against whom there was not the slightest ground for suspicion. Colored people and slaves who lived in remote parts of the town suffered in an especial manner. In some cases, the searchers scattered powder and shot among their clothes and then sent other parties to find them and bring them forward as proof that they were plotting insurrection. Everywhere, men, women, and children were whipped. This is me, this isn't Linda. Were whipped till the blood stood in puddles at their feet. Some received 500 lashes. Others were tied hands and feet and tortured with a buckling paddle, which blisters the skin terribly. The dwellings of the colored people, unless they happen to be protected by some influential white person who was nigh at hand were robbed of clothing and everything else the marauders thought worth carrying away. All day long, these unfeeling wretches went round like a troop of demons, terrifying and tormenting the helpless. At night, they formed themselves into patrol bands. At night, they formed themselves into patrol bands. Patrol bands. Patrol bands. That's the origins of the police. Now we're talking about slavery time. I'm talking about now for just a moment. The origins of the police come out of these slave patrols that hated black people, beat black people, put false evidence against black people. That's the origins of the police. This is how they looked upon black people then, and too many look upon black people now that way. And even though we may have some black policemen that are decent, they have not cleaned up the police power in this country. Free Mumia, free all political prisoners. Now I will get back to the book. Where was I? Patrol bands, and went wherever they chose among the colored people, acting out their brutal will. Many women hid themselves in the woods and swamps. Do you hear this, people? To keep out of their way. If any of the husbands or fathers told of these outrages, listen to this. They were tied up to the public whipping post. They had a public whipping post. You know how you can go downtown, whatever city you in, they had a public whipping post for black people who just talked about what white people did during that time period. And they were cruelly scourged for telling lies about white people. So when black people told the truth about the deviltry of those bastards, and white people heard that they were talking, they could be publicly whipped. No, not they could be. They were publicly whipped. The consternation was universal. No two people that had the slightest tinge of color in their faces dared to be seen talking together. Where am I? Do you understand, people, that we were whipped even for telling the truth? We were whipped for telling the truth about white deviltry. These are our ancestors. Yep. Now, I'm out of slavery now. This is Ida B. Wells, one of our heroes. Her and Assata Shakur share the same birthday, July 16th. Can you imagine that? Yes, and this sister is a hero. I just love her so very much. Now, her parents had been enslaved, but she was not. She was born just when slavery was legally over, supposedly. But slavery did continue on in some areas. Now, let me get to this. I'm reading her, and I'm glad to be reading her after the horrific book section that I just read. Because I want you to see her character. I want you to see how this woman made herself into the best that she could be for her people. Boom. And how she discovered her true love occupation while she was in her 20s. This is Ida. Although I had made a reputation in school for thoroughness and discipline, you hear this? Thoroughness and discipline. Always be good at what you do. In the primary grades, I was never promoted above the 4th grade in all my years as a teacher. The confinement and monotony of the primary work began to grow distasteful. The correspondence I had built up in the newspaper work gave me an outlet through which to express the real, quote, me, end of quote. And I enjoyed my work to the utmost. Others seemed to like it also. One day I had a caller who said he was passing through Memphis and could not resist the opportunity to look up, quote, the brilliant Iola, that was her newspaper name, end of quote, whose writings he had read in various papers. He was Reverend William J. Simmons, who was traveling for the American Baptist Home Missionary Society. He was the head of their work among the colored people and was also president of the State University of Louisville, Kentucky, organizer and president of the National Baptist Convention, and editor of the Negro Press Association. He was truly a big man, figuratively and physically. He wanted me as correspondent of his paper and offered me the lavish sum of $1 a letter weekly. It was the first time anyone had offered to me for the work I had enjoyed doing any money. I had never dreamed of receiving any pay, for I had been too happy over the thought that the papers were giving me space. Dr. Simmons also wanted me to come to Louisville next year to represent his paper at the press convention. For the next 3 years, I was on the staff of the American Baptist. I went to Louisville to the first press convention I had ever attended and was tickled pink. Now, she wasn't tickled pink, but that was a saying. Those that were tickled pink were white. Ida is black. I just wanted to point that out. Tickled pink over the attention I received from those veterans of the press. I suppose it was because I was their first woman representative. I also went as representative of this paper to the press convention in Washington, D.C. in 1889, where I was elected secretary to the National Press Association. I witnessed my first inauguration while there. I saw for the first time, check this out, Frederick Douglass. Remember we read Fred? Ida knew Fred. I saw for the first time Frederick Douglass, Bishop Turner, Senator B.K. Bruce, and other important men of the race. See, this was during Reconstruction time. You ought to read Black Reconstruction by W.E.B. Du Bois. And notice how Black people helped each other. Notice that she was given jobs through Black people. This was 1889. Think about your lineage. Think about your heritage, okay? Now I'm going to read some from the great Assata Shakur, and you know we just lost her a few months ago, I believe, in September. Okay, who's this? Jay Franklin, let me show you. Free them all. You got it. Keep it on your mind. Keep those brothers and sisters walking in the rain from Amir on your mind. Here we go again. Much respect, and respect right back at you, Jay Franklin. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. Now, this is Assata Shakur. Where am I? Now, I'm going to end today with reading this by Assata. What am I doing? Anyway, because it fits into what happened to us since the slave ship, since those beatings. Notice how often I mention beatings. White people beat our ancestors, many to death. What do you think that did to the psychology of the African turning into the Negro? Well, Assata is going to tell you about it. Now, the section I'm going to read now is from the 1950s. This is very important. I was in the 1950s, 60s. Everything she says here, I experienced. We children had been completely brainwashed, and we didn't even know it. We accepted white value systems and white standards of beauty, and at times we accepted the white man's view of ourselves. We had never been exposed to any other point of view or any other standard of beauty. From when I was a tot, I can remember black people saying, quote, niggas ain't shit, end of quote. Yo, you know how lazy niggas are? Boom. Give a nigga an inch and he'll take a mile. Yeah. Everybody knew what niggas like to do after they eat, sleep. Everybody knew that niggas couldn't be on time. That's why we invented CPT, colored people's time. Niggas don't take care of nothing. Niggas don't stick together. I'm going to stop right there because I want to comment on this. Everything she said, I've heard all my life. Niggas don't stick together. Yo! From slavery, we couldn't save ourselves. Understand that psychologically, people. We couldn't save ourselves from the brutality of the white demons that owned us. We couldn't save ourselves. So what would happen? A distrust of ourselves. A distrust of one another. Okay? And this is how she ends this. The list could go on and on. To varying degrees, we accepted these statements as true. She's right. And to varying degrees, we each made them true. Yes! We made them true. These were the only rules that we knew. So if niggas ain't shit, I ain't shit. Because I'm a nigga too. So then how can I trust? That's the point Assata is making here. How can I trust? Facts. You got it, Jay Franklin. Facts. I'm reading from these books because number one, I want you to know how important books are. I want you also to look at your thinking. I'm going to sign off very, very soon here, but I do want to read something from my Panther sister, the poet Julia Wright, okay? Baby Ancestors. Now, I'm not going to read it this very minute because I want to say a little bit to you. Black people could not depend on black people to save them. Now, there were exceptions, but I want to get to the root of some of the horrors that we are even suffering today, where we don't talk nice to each other. We don't gift to one another. We don't know this system well enough to save for our children. We don't own anything. We got to change those kinds of habits so that we can raise a generation. Yes. Yes. We can raise a generation of true thinkers. Okay? True black doers for the race. Let me see. I got another comment. Fast forward. Yo, I know you're right, Black Bailu. Regrettably, but you leave those people to their own misfortunes and to their own wrong reading of history. If you is black in America, you is African too. Okay? I don't even dig separations. Are you kidding? Anywhere you black, we black. That's it. Okay. Now let me read this poem and then I'm going to sign off. It's by Julia Wright. Like I said in the beginning of the show, she gave rallies every Wednesday in Paris. This is where she lives. For Mumia. I got to read The Good Sister. All right. I'm going to read the same poem that I read about last week that she wrote for the baby ancestors in Gaza. She's talking about Gaza, but this goes for all genocides anywhere. In the corner of my house that receives the most sunbeams, I have built a secular altar on my humble wooden floor. Candles are lit for the tiny children who become ancestors. I don't even think I'm going to read this all because I want to stop. I'll be reading her, every time we come together. But check this out, people. I never even dreamed about baby ancestors. Oh, when you think about ancestors, you think, of course, about older people, right? But what about the babies that are being killed around the world? The United States and Israel always have parts in it. Yes. What happens to baby ancestors? It's not like I have an answer. I haven't died in this lifetime yet. Okay? I don't know. But the thought, the very creative thought of Julia Wright as a poet, baby ancestors, and that's what they become. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to end right here. You know how much I'm crazy about you. You know that I pray for you every night and every day. And like one of my people said on this stream, free them all. You see this banner going across? You can go to those websites, get more information, do whatever you feel comfortable doing to support those brave marchers. I will see you on Thursday, and thanks for being here. Bye now.